It's a turbo. So in this episode, obviously I'm going to be talking about the turbo and why I chose the exact turbo I chose for this build. So to start off, I went through Tim McCollin, or I think it's how you say his name. I went through him to purchase a VS Racing G3 7875. So I'll just read you off the specs and I'll tell you just what I understand about them. So it's a 78-102 high flow milled compressor. It's got the turbine is a 8275 9-blade high efficiency. It's a standard compressor outlet from a S14 and then it's got a 3-inch outlet on the back with a .96 AR, and then the cool 4-inch ported anti-shroud, so kind of like I don't know what they call it, TR51 mod or something. So basically it sounds like it's spooling a lot louder. So I went with this turbo exactly. I'll tell you what the specs mean to me, I guess. The specs mean to me is absolutely, I have no idea what I'm talking about. The only specs that actually mattered to me, which is stupid to say, but that it's got a T4 housing and it's got a 3-inch exhaust. So I went with the .96 instead of the 102 or the 125 or whatever it is, because where my turbo placement is on the driver's side on a USDM 240 S14, because I wanted to retain my fuse box in its factory location and AC. So I had to put it on the driver's side, which limited the diameter of the downpipe that I could run to go down past the steering column. So a lot of people that have done this, which is not a lot, but they run a 3-inch one and they either make it oval or they kind of just barely fit it in. And I'm gonna have full exhaust, so that was an absolute must. I was gonna do a fender exit, but the car is just so clean, I wouldn't want to ruin it in my mind by doing something like that. I chose this exact turbo because John Galworth recommended it to me. I have no idea about turbo, so he recommended me. I asked him, I said, what about this brand? He said this brand's pretty good for him so far, and everyone else that I reached out, they all said VS Racing has great customer service, and if you ever need help, you can talk to them and they'll walk you through it. It's not the greatest brand in the world. I think it's like the highest quality Chinese turbo, so it's like a Chinese turbo still, but they've got decent quality for the price. I couldn't complain. I spent around $1,000. When I purchased it, I got one Gen 3 7875 billet turbo, two 44mm wastegates with all the hardware, a 50mm blow-up valve, and then I also got the downpipe V-band flange for this, and then the V-band flange for the cold side as well. So I spent around $1,000, but back to the turbo. Yeah, I know absolutely nothing. I asked John Galworth, I said, hey man, what do you think? I asked a few of my other buddies, and a lot of people were like, yo, throw the biggest turbo on there, all the turbo lag and stuff like that. And for me, I was really limited on my exhaust side, so I needed some turbo that had a 3-inch downpipe at the most. And then I started watching videos, and they put this on 5.3s, 6.0s, and it's a one turbo fit all type situation. And for me, I'm not chasing a lot of power, so that works perfectly. And another thing is, I don't know if I'm gonna stay with this 5.7. So it's a Gen 3 5.7 LS1. I'm not gonna gap the rings. I'm not doing any of that. It's got 240,000 miles or something like that. And when it blows up, I don't know if I'm gonna go to a 5. I'm staying Gen 3. I don't know if I'm gonna go 5.3, find another LS1, or go with a 6.0. So for me, this was the best bang for the buck. I hope it all works out for me, and I think it will. Like I said, I don't know much about turbo, so when people say, oh hey, what about, I'm sure I'll learn it more as I go and the more research I go, but my first step was going out and buying a turbo, and that sounds kind of stupid, and it is silly because I didn't do a lot of research, but I knew once I had the turbo, which is this thing, obviously, I would have a lot more motivation to continue. And as you saw in my last video, depending when I post all these, I finally got the headers set up. So I believe, from what I understand, it's with the cam that I've selected and running 2.5 or 2 1/4 primaries, or the crossover you want to talk, to this turbo, I'll have decent spool time. And I'll go over in a later video how I'm going to change my suspension to react to this spool time, because right now these Power by Max 10K in the rear, no tires, stock S14 axles with a J30 diff, I'm not entirely sure it's all going to hold up. So I have some plans, not really budget friendly, but I have some plans that are going to hopefully put this power to the ground reliable. Like I said, 650 to 700 is the absolute top of the line that I want to go. Anything lower than that, I'm still fine because I have turbo noises and I want to make this reliable. So AC obviously is my biggest concern, but here's the turbo. It's one Chinese spinny boy, and we'll see how long my motor lasts, and hopefully very soon that I'll have more videos to post about the turbo and my setup, and I'll go more in detail once the turbo is mounted, once the twin wastegates are mounted and everything else. I'll go into further detail. But for now, we got a turbo, so we're moving one step forward, and I'm pretty excited. I will put it back in the same location that I'm storing it in, just so when I come out here, it's motivation for me every time. But hopefully, it'll be mounted right here, and we'll hear some cool sound soon.